column. So here we'll use a child. So go ahead and declare child, and within child we'll have column. Okay, well, now this one over here, so but now there's another thing that we could also take care. We'll do it a little later. Okay, I'll show you a little later why. Anyway, so now go ahead and do this text, but now as you see, these two texts are in a row format, right? So that's why we declare row here, and we do children. Now over here we can use our app large text. Okay, app large text, and here we just say yes, so you say might. For now we are using this one, but in future we'll read them from database, as I said early. And now here this $sign 250. Okay, now let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, yeah, and we want to create space between them. Okay, so here we'll use the property main axis alignment. For row, main axis is this one, so the main axis alignment dot space between, so it'll push them to the edge. Now they're too much to the end, right? So that's what I wanted to tell you early. So here, let's see if we can assign margin or padding. Actually, it doesn't really matter, so we do padding here, const edge insets only here. So left 20, right 20. Okay, and at the same time we could also do top, say top 30. Oh, it's looking much better, more like this one. Okay, now the color is too black. We can also take care of this color over here, so we can do colors dot black 54. Okay, and here for this one we use color app colors dot text color, I think this one. Okay, or we can also use main color for this, main color. Okay, all right, but I think it's a little too gray, so here black with opacity maybe 0.8. Yeah, it works much better. Okay, so that is so far so good with this section. Now we'll go ahead and do them very quickly. So now you want to show this this one, and once again that's inside this column, and here you want to have sized box. So sized box here, say height 10 pixels, and now you want to have this one. So this is also in a row, this map icon and the address. So we do row here, and we do children here, and the first one is this icon. So here we do icons that I think what is it? I think it's location. Let's see. It's looking for the icon. Yeah, I think the first one. We'll go ahead with the first one, or let's see, location, location, not really the first one, second one. All right, and we could use color. Okay, so app colors dot main color, or app's main color, and then I think that's it. Okay, and we'd go ahead with this one. Now for this one we can use app text, second one, and the text is USA California. We'll keep it for now, this one, and color say app colors dot text color, or main text color, not this one, maybe the first one, I don't remember. Anyways, just go ahead and check it while it's there, and maybe we can use a bit of sized box over here. So I'll copy this, put it here, and we'll do width, and instead of this we'll do 5. Let's see. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, now we want this stars over here, and once again, before we go ahead with the stars, we also need to create the sized box, the distance, so it is almost the double the distance over here, so we do 20. Now here for the stars itself, here we'd use wrap widget. Okay, wrap widget. Now it takes children. Now within children we'll use list.generate, this one, and we want to use 5 stars, and here we want to return something, so we'll return, say, icon. Okay, and here we can do icons dot, let's see, stars, this one. Okay, now let's go ahead and save it and see the result. Okay, we have this icon right now. Now this icon is here, so we can take care of this property as well. So here we do cross-axis alignment dot start. The problem should be solved. Now the color is, we don't want this color, we want a different color, star color. So you do app colors dot star color. Okay, all right. Now if you see this design, we have this blank star over here and the text. Okay, so this star and this text, they're in a row. So here I'll cut this one, and here I would do row, I would do children, and the first one is the wrap one, and second one is this text over here. So you could use app text, this one. Okay, and in this case the text is 4.0. Once again, this is static now, soon we'll load them from the server. Okay, now here we do color. So here we'd have app colors dot, say, text color, let's go with text color 2 and see the result. Okay, yeah, this is what we wanted. And now here sized box, say we do a bit of width over here and 10 pixels. Okay, now another thing, if you see this one over here, this is blank empty star, right? So how to take care of this one? Actually, we can put a condition over here. Okay, for now, say we create a new variable at the top over here. We'll create a new variable and we'll call it, say, int gotten stars. Okay, well, for now we'll have it, say, 3. All right, now we check it over here. Okay, I think we could do this check over here for the color. So here, say, gotten stars less than 5. If it's true, then we'll use this app color, which is text, which is this star color. Otherwise we'll use a different color for the last one. Okay, so for this one we'll use text color 2, this one. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and see. Okay, well, of course it's not working because gotten star is a 3, right? 3 is always less than 5, so that's why it doesn't work. So here we need to change this one, index. Okay, If number of index is greater than garden star, we'll use star colors. Otherwise, we'll use this text color. Okay. Well, now we can do the opposite actually. So we'll check here. Say index is less than garden stars. I mean the current index. I'm sorry. Okay, now it's working, but of course we can set it to 4. Yeah, it's working. So once again, in future we'll read them dynamically. So the idea is here. So if the current index is less than garden stars, then we use the star color. When it is 4, then garden star and index star, this condition is not applied, so we use this color. Okay, all right, perfect. Now if you come over here, look at this one. Now we'll go ahead and do this one and this one. So once again, let's see, we're in this row over here, and we'll use sized box, and this time a little more extra height. Okay, and now app text, app large text, and over here we'll use people, and we could use color, colors dot black with opacity 0.8. Okay, now the font size is too big for this one, so we could pass a size variable over here, say 20. Yeah, it's better. Okay, next one, we'll use this text, number of people, so use app text, and the text is number of people in your group, okay, and color is app colors dot main text color. I think this one. Okay, let's go ahead and see. Okay, perfect. And I think we also need a bit of space over here, so we do sized box height 5, and we're good. Okay, well, the next one is this widgets over here. Okay, and once again, what we'll do, we'll use this wrap function that we used early. Okay, and I like it. It's amazing. It saves you a lot of time. Instead of for loop, you can use this one, wrap list.generate. Over here we need 5, and the return a container. Okay, all right, now here just set up your width and height. Say width 60, height 60, and well, this part is very interesting. So here we'll have border radius, sorry, decoration, box decoration, and here we'll do border radius. Say border radius say 15, and the color, colors dot or we could use app color dot button background color. Okay, well, let's go ahead and see the result. Well, it's there over there. Now what we could do, we could go ahead and create a margin for it. Okay, but now we don't want to create a margin over here. Why not? because if you see this style, this buttons and this button, they're almost similar and they should be reusable. Okay, so we want to create a reusable button, but we already did that. So all we need to do, we need to cut this one and put it in a new file, and there would be a new widget. So over here we'll call it, we'll create a new file and we'll call it app-buttons.dart. Now here we'll create a stateless class, and what we just did over there, we'll just put it over here. And of course we need to import some of the libraries. Okay, and here we'll call it app buttons. Okay, and let's import this one as well. Okay, so now let's prettify our code. Yes. Okay, but one thing though, because we want to create a reusable button, all right, well, now here we could go ahead and call it, we can just call it app buttons, and you'd still see the same result. Yeah, but now we want to create a reusable button. Okay, so, and what should it have? As you can see here, it will have background color, icon, text, things like that. So we'll define all of them. So here definitely you want color. Okay, so we do final color. So this color would be either the text color or icon color. Now over here you also want background color. Okay, so you do color, background color. Okay, what else? You also want size. Okay, so int or we do double size, so they are more like square, right? Yes, so that's one thing. You also want a border color, so you do final color border color. Okay, all right, so all it's asking you to implement all of them, so go ahead and do that. Okay, and now it's asking you to add the required keyword. Okay, well, now these are all required, not optional. Okay, and it's saying that remove this one. Well, now for size we do the same thing, this dot size. Okay, all right, so these are the things that our color function should pass it to, right? Yes. So now if you come over here, now of course it will show an error, and if you hover over on it, it's a add record argument color. But let's see, come over here. So yeah, one of the things is color. So well, just go ahead and do it, color, right? But now there's a problem. So we have color, background color, and border color. So I'll just delete that and try it again. Now here, if you hover on this one, now if you import it, they all should be auto imported for you, the properties. Okay, now we can change them. We can use the size, say 50, and the color, well, that should be our text color. Okay, well, for now here, say colors dot white or black. Okay, all right, now the background color for this one, app colors dot button background color. Now the border color for this button, forget about this one, first think about this one. The border color and background color are same, right? Okay, so we use this one. Okay, now all we need to do, we need to come over here and use this thing. So size is size, and width is also size because they are square. And now this color, so this is the background color, right? So this background color. Now it also takes border color, right? So do border all, border dot all. Now it takes color. So this is the border color we'll use over here or right here. And we also can use width, and we'll use width 1.0. This is the fixed one. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it. Yes, I think we have a slight error over here. Let's see, what is this error though? Expected. Okay, over here. Okay, now somehow let's say change here to colors.red. Let's make sure if everything is working. Yes, it is working, right? Perfect. Okay, so our button is already working, and now this is it. Okay, but now if you come back to this section over here, you see our button should also contain a child, either as a text or an icon, right? And we also want to be able to pass it. So here, now text or icon, they are optional. Okay, whatever we pass, that should be shown. So we'll come over here. So we'll define here string text, because this text is optional. It could be either text or an icon. Okay, now for icon it's the same thing, icon data icon. Okay, we have to use one of them. Now of course over here we need to implement them, so we do this dot text, this dot icon. Okay, all right. So but how to know that whether you're passing icon or text? So we need to pass a boolean over here. Okay, so here we'll pass is icon. In general, we'll pass false if we want to use a text. Okay, now you need to come over here. Here bool is icon. All right, now over here this is required or this is not required, because in general we might just pass false value. Okay, so it's not always required, so it would be the default value is false. Okay, so we do this dot is icon false. All right, yeah. Okay, well now that's getting interesting. So here after that we'll have child. Okay, so either we are using icon or text. Okay, now if is icon false, if it's false, then definitely we are going to use a text. Okay, so here we can use app text, and the text is whatever the text that is being passed down from here. Okay, now we might have an error. Let's see. Okay, now the error is gone because it's optional over here, so you should use a null checker if whether you're passing it or not. Okay, so if it's false is icon, that means we are passing text. Otherwise what we will do, we will use icon over here. Okay, so now the icon is whatever the icon we pass. Okay, all right, and now the color also changes. So icon color should be the color whatever we pass, as you can see here. Okay, all right, the same for the text color. Now the text color is very interesting because it does change based on reaction. Okay, So now over here, say color. All right, for now, just go ahead with colors.black and we'll change it very soon. And you need to import this library. Okay, now the magic time. Let's come over here. Even if we don't pass icon, okay, now over here you can just go ahead and do it, but it will throw an error because we are not passing anything anymore over here. But we said the icon color, icon and text, well, they're optional as you declared them over here, this text and this icon, right? So they should have default value. For now, say for text hi. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it and check it. So it's there, right? Yeah. Well, one of the problem with this is that it's not centered, so we'll wrap it around center widget, and same for this one, center widget. Now let's go ahead and run it. Now it's all centered. Now because I didn't pass any text, it's using the default value, so I can pass a text over here. Okay, so what is the text I want to pass? I want to pass the text, this numbers, the index. Okay, so you do text index to string because index is an integer. Now it will use the value that we pass. Okay, perfect. Well, now you can't really pass a 0, so what we'll do, simply we'll just come over here and we'll do index plus 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and do it. Okay, perfect. So it's working, but now if you see, it has some spacing, so we need to take care of that one. To do that, well, our button is already reusable. Okay, we can prove it. Say if you don't want to use this text, you want to pass an icon. Okay, so here we could do icon and we can pass an icon over here. So do icons dot say icons dot, can we pass anything, say favorite. Okay, now if we pass icon, we also need to set the value is icon. We need to set it to true, otherwise we'll get an error because we're passing an icon. Default value is for text. Okay, so it's working. So our button is completely reusable. Hopefully it makes sense. Well, whatever we do, but we need the space over here. As you see, it has some extra margin. Okay, now this one we can wrap it around a container. Okay, and here we do margin and say const add insets only, and right margin say 10. Now let's run it. It's working perfect, but of course we don't want icon over here. Okay, and we want text over here, right? So you do index plus 1 to string. Okay, perfect. Well, of course we also need to take care of this distance over here. Now it's pretty easy, so just go ahead and copy and come to this end and copy paste. Instead of 5 you want to do 10. Okay, well, it's already looking better. Okay, next we'll see how to click on each of them and select certain one. Well, now we'll see how to work on the selected index. I mean, we want to select them and change the background color and text color like this. So to do that, we need to come over here and well, we want to be able to click on them. To do that, first we need to wrap it around a widget, and here we'll use inkwell. Okay, this one, and it takes on tap event. Okay, now over here, so once we click on this, we would click on certain index, so that index we can save somewhere, and we need to save it using set state so that we can trigger rebuild. First we need to go ahead and declare a variable. Let's do int selected index, selected index. Well, default will do -1, which also means actually not selected any of them. Anyway, so once we click on them, we'll save the index to the selected index. Okay, all right. But now, because we want to retrigger build, so we need to set it around set state. Okay, now go ahead, save it, make sure no error. Of course, nothing will happen yet because we are not changing anything. But now here, you need to check one thing. If certain index is selected over here, we want to change the color. Now, we could do a check over here. If selected index, so over here we'll use this one as our condition. So if index, whatever the index it is, if it's equal to selected one, okay, then we want to change the color. Well, if it's selected, if this condition is true, then we would colors.white for the text or for the icon. It doesn't really matter. Otherwise, we'll use black. Now, this one, we'll use the same condition for background and border colors. Okay, well, if it's selected, then the background color, we want it to be black. Okay, colors.black. Otherwise, it's the app background color, which is this one. The same over here, border color. If it's selected, we want the border color to be black. Otherwise, it should be the color as the background color we used early. Let's go ahead and check it. But default, it's not selected. But now if you do it, as you see, it changes, right? So now using this, we are only selecting one button at a time. But now we do have a problem here. So like selected index, the color, now that is the text color. If the index is same as the selected index, we want it to be white. But now we don't see the white, we see black. Now if you come to the button over here, app buttons, over here, let's see. So here we already have a fixed color, so we need to change it. Okay, we need to use the color, the one we are passing over here, which is this one. So let's change it. Let's save it. Okay, as you see, it already changed, so let's change it. Perfect. So it's also working. So now we'll come back to our detail page over here. So this part is done. So to select only one index, just to save it, and based on that index, do a rebuild. Okay, all right. So right now we'll take a look at this one, and also it has some distance over here, so we need to change it. So we'll copy this one over here and put it right here, and we'll do maybe 20 for now, and let's see what happens. And okay, now we can use our app large text, and over here we do description, and we can also set the color with the colors dot black with opacity 0.8 and size 20. So it's there. Perfect. Now we also need to use our app text for this one. Now, well, let's try it. So what do? We'll just use app text Okay, now it takes a text, so the text is now here we can also set our color to do app colors dot say main text color. Okay, so here it's showing up perfect. But now here we can set up this sized box a little bit, so instead of 20 we'll do 10. Okay, now it's good, perfect. Next we need to see how we're going to use these two options over here. Well, now this is a reusable button. We already created this button earlier, so we can go ahead and create this. But now if you take a look at this layout, well, definitely this is a row layout, right? So we want row. All right, that's one thing, but this should be fixed at the bottom. So what we should do, we should also use it within positioned widget. Okay, all right, so here for now we only have two positioned widget, so we'll create our third positioned widget over here. Okay, positioned widget, and here we'll have our child. Now within child we'll have row. Okay, all right, now positioned widget, well, we'll do that later. For now, just a bottom 0. Now over here we'll have children, and within children we can use our app buttons, okay, which we did early, app buttons. So over here these are the parameters we must supply. All right, well, size in this case is 60, and color we do app colors dot say, well, text color 2, I guess, and background color we do colors dot white. Now the border color app colors dot text color 2. All right, now let's go ahead and check it, see the result. Oh, well, it's there, and definitely we don't want it like this, so it's up there 10, 20. I think it's good. Now we'll do left, so we'll do left 20 as well. Okay, now this way they're all aligned to the same distance. Okay, but here of course we don't want a text, we want an icon. So here we know that we can set the boolean is icon, okay, true. And if we do that, we also need to pass the icon. So icons dot fav or favorite, this one. Now let's save it and see the result. Okay, perfect. But I think our text color is not really, this is the color we want. Maybe we want color 1 instead of 2. Okay, well, now it's much closer. So the button is there. Now the next button we want to draw is this one over here. Okay, well, actually we already created this button, which is also over here, this responsive button. Okay, so we'll reuse this button over here. Well, now to reuse this button we need to set up some extra conditional check over here, because earlier we saw in this section we used it. Okay, anyway, so now let's go ahead and try to call this button. So we'll call it app responsive buttons, responsive button. Let's see, responsive button, this one. So now if you hover over on it, so we have few properties that we can set up now. This time we want it to be responsive, so we'd set is responsive true. Okay, is responsive true. And let's see, I think all right, well, if it's a responsive true, then, well, we also want to use this condition over here. Okay, well, now here we want to wrap this around with another widget. Okay, and that widget is called flexible. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and run it and check what happens. Okay, definitely we have some errors. Well, after flexible we still have error. Now few ways to take care of this one. First we'll come over here and we'll set another constraint which is called right. So now if you come over here, and as you see it works, okay, pretty much like that. So if you have flexible widget, but flexible widget's parent widget should have constraint, and then flexible widget will take all the available space in the parent widget. And of course we need to take care of the space over here. Sized box with say 20. Okay, yeah, like that. All right, but now here's another problem. We also want to show the text. Okay, so like as in the design, we want to show the text. So here we'll go ahead and do app text. Okay, so text is book trip now, and the colors dot white. Okay, all right, now let's save it. Well, it's there, but now I want it to be pushed back to the left and right side, so that's why we can also use center widget, sorry, space between. But if you do that, do remember this is a reusable button. We'll lose this property for this one. Okay, we still want to keep this. So here we can set up condition over here. So the condition we could set based on is responsive. If it's responsive true, then we would do main axis alignment dot space between. Otherwise we'll do main axis alignment center. Okay, and it should solve the problem. Well, let's go ahead and check it, and you see it did. Well, now another problem is this: it pushed too far to this end. Actually it did too, but this is an image, remember? The image has background, a little bit of background. Okay, yeah, I mean, sorry, the image has a little bit left and right property, or like margin or padding, so that's what causing the problem. Well, to get rid of this one here, of course, one thing we need to do first before we get rid of this one, we also need to check this one over here as well. If it's a responsive, then we'll show the text, otherwise we'll show empty container. Okay, all right, now definitely we can come over here and set it to false. Okay, and let's see. Okay, well, if you set it to false, well, it still takes the whole space. So how to solve this problem over here? So here, let's come over here. If is responsive true, and we'll do, let's see, double dot max infinite, otherwise it's same as width. Okay, so but the default value is false. Now the other problem is we are also not passing here default width. Okay, so we can have a default width over here, Okay, say 120. Okay, now it works because this is the default width. So here it is false, so it's going to use this default width over here. Now if we set it to true, let's see. Okay, it works. But now we come back to our earlier problem, which was so early, like it's too much to this left side and there is extra padding with this image. So now here we can, this one we can wrap it around a container, and here we can put margin. Okay, and we'll do const edge inserts only, and so left 20. Okay, all right, now that it should be fixed. Okay, all right, once again, if you come over here, if you set it to false, okay, our images button is very responsive. So why it responsive? Basically this variable over here is responsive, and we also set some extra parameters here, the default value. Okay, perfect. So now we have these 3 pages ready and they're all working. So our next task would be understanding what is a qubit, and based on that we'll connect all these 3 pages using qubit state management system. Hello everyone. Well, in this part of this tutorial we'll see how to use qubit for state management, or how to understand the most basic idea about state management. And after that we'll combine all these pages we have built so far, these pages, for our qubit app. But anyway, first I'll explain the basic idea, most basic idea, and understanding how to use qubit in your app and what is qubit. That's what I'll explain first. Well, for this one, well, you can come to my website over here. I'll put a link to this. It gives you some most basic idea, the clear and straightforward way. Because most of the apps I have seen, or the websites, I don't think they have very good idea. But anyway, so I'll explain to you how I understand. Okay, so your app needs a qubit or qubit package for state management, right? So here is your qubit package. So once you have qubit package in your app, so that qubit should have 2 things that you should do. You should have states and you should have qubit. So you need to create states. You also need to create qubit for this package. And from this package, you can understand it like this. And then your UI will interact with this. That's the most basic idea. And your states will have data, the data you want to rebuild, or sorry, the data you want to change. And based on that change, you want to trigger rebuild of UI. Okay. All right. So those data should be here within the states. Okay, our state should have access to those data. Well, now those data are there, and if some of the data are changed, or you want to rebuild the UI or show something new on the screen, then you should use emit function. Emit function will have hold, or will have idea about the states. Okay. Now this emit function should be within the qubit. So you create state should hold data, and because they're in the same package, so qubit will know about states, and then they'll emit the states. Emitting state means that, hey, I know that you want to do something new, or you change the variable, so I should let the app know. To do that, we'll use emit function to do it, and our qubit package will know it, and it will redraw the UI. Okay, so that's what the most basic idea about qubit, and that's my understanding. Well, the bigger idea is that your UI, qubit, and repository. Repository will talk with the server. It will send a request and get back response from server. Okay, all right. So as well, again, the qubit should have your qubit package, or app qubit should have qubit and states. And another idea that we should know. So our qubit app should have block provider and block builder. While using block provider, we can create qubit and will also hold the qubit. Now block builder, they'll check on the qubits, sorry, they'll check on the states, okay, and based on that states will trigger something. So two important ideas: block provider will create and hold our qubit, and as well as our block builder will check on the states and let us know which state we want to trigger or we want to go ahead with. Okay, so it's very important. All right, so that's the most basic idea about cubic. Now we'll go ahead and continue. So after this picture, you know that first we need to install this package, then we need to create classes for our states. We also need to create classes for our qubits. So that's what we will do, just according to this picture. So let's come over here, come to this file. So go ahead and install these three packages and do get pub. Okay, so now Flutter qubit is a subset of block and the package name is Flutter block. Okay, and we also need another package to work with block and Flutter, and they work pretty much together, but of course it could work independently with other projects. I'll explain what it is a little later. Now the first thing we want to do, we want to create a new folder or directory and we'll call it qubit. Okay, and within qubit we want to create a file for our states, so we'll call it app qubit states.dart, and we'll create another file for our qubits, so we'll call it app qubits.dart. Well, the first thing, as I said earlier, from here we understand we need to create states first. Okay, that's what we'll do. So over here we'll create an abstract class first, and the class name is say qubit states, and it'll extend another package or class that's equa, let's see, equa, equatable. Okay, I'll explain why we need this thing. Now based on this class, now we'll create another two classes. Okay, now this is an abstract class, so another class could extend this class as well, right? So the class name is initial state extends qubit states. Okay, now it will ask you to do something, overriding one method, which is this one, and I'll remove this and put like this, and I'll explain what is this. And I'll copy this one and put it over here. I'll change the name and we'll call it welcome state. Now what is this initial state and what is this class for? Well, every qubit app, they should have one initial state. When we first create qubit, we should pass a state class or a state function. So that's what we'll do over here. Okay, it could be a class, it could be a function, it doesn't really matter. So that we should initialize that one, every qubit app. So that's why we have this one. And once that is done, we want to trigger a new state. That state name is welcome state. This welcome state would be responsible for showing this page on the screen once the initialization has been done. So that's why we have this too. We can remove that because we're not really passing any object to it, so it's okay. Now what is this for? So over here actually you put the data that should be changed. Like as I said earlier, states should hold data. If you come over here, so the data that should be changed, and those data should create rebuild of UI. So that should be within here, but for now we are not going to use any data because this page doesn't really going to do any dynamic update of data, at least for now. In future we'll change it, so that's why these are empty. So if I had a variable, say int x, and I want this variable to be changed in the app, and based on this variable I also want to retrigger or trigger a new build, so I'll declare it here and then I'll put it here. So if my app changed this variable, I will automatically get a rebuild of that part for the UI. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. But we're not doing any of these things, so we'll keep it empty. So with this, according to this file, our states has been created for now. And now we'll go ahead and create qubit, or create a class for qubit. That's the better way of understanding. So here in this file, we'll create a class for our qubit, and we'll call it class app qubits. And it should extend qubit. Okay. Now let's see. It's asking you to import this package. Now here it's asking you to initialize the super constructor. As I said earlier, over here, every class they'll have initial state. So this is our initial state. Every app that uses qubit, they should have one initial state. So this is our initial state. So we need to call our initial state from here. So I'll call it initial state. So that's the class. Okay, and we don't need this one anymore. We can keep it empty. All right. So with this, our initial state would be done. Okay. Yeah. And once the initial state has been done, actually for initial state, as you see, nothing is happening. Okay. Once the initial state has been done, we want to emit a new state to show the welcome page. So that's why here we'll write emit, and here we'll write welcome page, welcome state, this one. So first the initialization has been done, then we'll trigger another state. That state is this one. So that's how they work. First this one, and automatically we'll call this one. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. So with this, we are done with extending our qubit, and using this file, now somewhere we can create qubit, because our app still doesn't know that there is a qubit in our app. So we need to find a way to let our app know that we are going to use qubit in this app or UI. Okay, to do that, we'll do it from the entry point of our app, which is main.dart. Okay, we know that for so far this has been the entry point, because of this we see this UI, right? Now this should be our entry point, right? Okay, so well, before we go ahead and inject our qubit over here, we need to do one more thing. Now if you come over here, we also need to send a state type. Okay, so we would call here app qubit states, this one. Okay, because I said earlier that if we have states, our qubit would somehow know that we have states or state classes like this. How does it know? It knows like this. Okay, because you need to tell that what kind of states my qubit should have. So based on this one, it knows, okay, well, states are coming from here and they're this type. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. Now over here, what we'll do, we'll remove this one. Okay, now we'll use block provider. As I said earlier, we use block provider to create qubits, okay, or inject qubits. So here we would call app qubits, this one. Okay, now here if you hover over on it, it has one mandatory argument, which is create. You should use this one, and you also see that it takes a function. Okay, in our case we want to pass the class as a function, so you do create. And what is our class or function over here? That's app qubits. Well, it has an error. Well, the one thing we need to do, as you can see from here, that it takes a context. So we need to pass the context. Okay, now the error should be gone. And if you hover over on it, well, there is another parameter that we could use. That's the child, but of course this is optional, but here we can still use that one. So we need to pass a child that holds all these qubits, or that can access the qubits, or that can check the qubits or the states. Okay, like this. So, well, we don't have this child yet. So what do we need to do? We need to go ahead and create one. So over here, we'll create a new file. We'll call it app qubit logics.dart. Okay, so this is the file that should hold our states and check on the states. Okay, so anyway, we'll create a stateful class over here, and stateful class, we'll call it app qubit logics. Okay, all right, and we need to import some of the libraries, and here instead of container, we'll return scaffold. Now scaffold should have body. Now we saw earlier that we can use block builder to create or check, actually to check on the states, because we already have states over here, so we can check on them. But to check on them, we need to check them through block builder. So over here we would implement or go ahead and create block builder. So block builder. Okay, all right, now block builder should have ideas about our qubits and states. So here we'll call app qubits, this one, and app state, qubit states, this one. Okay, all right, so just like any other builder, it takes a builder property. Okay, and like any other builder, it takes two parameters, this builder property. First one is context, other one is state. So pretty much in Flutter, whenever you see the builder, it takes a builder property, and builder property should take a function. Okay, so it takes a function over here. So now once we have this block builder, now using this one, we can check on the states. All right, now we saw early that when our qubit is created first time, there is an initial state. This get triggered automatically, and after that we trigger a new state, which is welcome state. But now this has been triggered, but app wouldn't know about it. So you have to find it, and finding it is very easy. How to do that? We can do it logically over here. So we could do if state is welcome state. Okay, all right, then you return something. Return what? Welcome page. So this is the page we are returning, or file or class. Okay, if we don't find anything for now, we'll return an empty container. If there is no state found, we return empty container. So once again, what happens here? So this is the initial state that get triggered automatically. Then welcome state gets triggered. Okay, so this is this state over here, this one. We find it. So it's just a naming that this is happening after initial state. So we can find actually this name. That's all. So it's a hint to the app. Well, this is happening right now. So this is a stage that is happening. Well, if this is happening, then take me there, or show me this, or do this, or do that. So this states over here, another simple understanding is just some names